Right, good morning to the children today. Do you all like a story about sharks? Ooh, summertime, holiday time, bit scared about this one, thinking of you might be swimming in the ocean. Does your mind go, how far can I go? Because in the back of your mind you're thinking, oh, could be a shark. But fortunately, we are fairly blessed in that there is a lot of watch and coast guard, isn't there? But my story today is about a young boy who had no Coast Guard watch for him. His name was Joseph, and when he was 15 years of old, Joseph decided that he wanted to go to sea, and he managed to get a job as a cabin boy. That's the captain's cabin boy, doing little odd jobs for the captain, etc. And the story is told that on a particular night, they were travelling between England and America. Well, actually, we should go this way, between England and America. And they were about halfway across the Atlantic when he decided, and it was a Sunday evening, and he thought, I think I'll go for a climb. I'll take the telescope with me, and I'll see if I can see from the top mast, I'll see if I can see any land, which was unlikely as to where they were, or ships approaching. So he climbed up the mast and the ladder that they had on the mast, and he went all the way right to the top. Now, how would you feel about that? Would you like to climb to the top of a tall ship? Because this photograph that I have up here, I think could be the very ship actually. It has the right name. It was travelling at that stage across the Atlantic at the same time as this story took place with Joseph. And so it could be the very ship. Imagine climbing right up to the top and getting a telescope out and looking around to see if you could find another ship. That's what he was doing. Couldn't find any other ships. He started coming back down, and he was, it says, 60 feet above the sea. Now, I've estimated that from the floor to the roof would be just a little bit under 30 feet. So can you imagine doubling the height of that? He was that far up above the sea, a little closer to the deck of the ship, when all of a sudden he thought he was getting his hold on the correct rope as he was coming down, but it wasn't there, and he fell back and he fell down towards the deck. Well, fortunately for him, he hit a rope, and the rope threw him off the deck. Well, it hadn't reached the deck, but it saved him from hitting the deck, and he landed splash out into the ocean. How would you be? Now, let me tell you what happened before this. For days, a shark had been following that boat. All right? It was at the back of the boat, going from side to side, so that anything that was thrown over the side of the boat, it would pick up to eat if it could eat it. All right? It had been doing this for days. The sailors had actually thrown a big hunk of meat on a hook out there, hoping that they could coax him to come up closer, because they had this special big long rod with a barb on the end of it that they used to try and hook such sharks that followed the ship, because sailors were scared stiff of sharks. They'd tell stories about how sharks would swallow people whole, or they'd bite them in half and have 2 bites. And all these horrible stories they'd tell. And you can imagine that them doing this and getting rid of that shark so it wasn't a danger, just in case anybody fell off the boat. So here's Joseph. He has fallen overboard, and when he surfaces, he sees the ship is passing by. Now, you can imagine it's pretty hard to turn a tall ship around quickly to find a young boy out in the middle of the ocean. All right? But guess what? He saw the sailors running to the back of the ship, and one of them had a big rope, and he threw the rope out as hard as he could in the direction of where Joseph was, and Joseph managed to just reach the rope, and they yelled out, "Hang on!" So he held on, and you can imagine he'd be holding on, wouldn't he? Because he wouldn't want to miss this ride back into the boat. And they pulled him right in and up over the side of the boat. And they said, "Are you hurt?" No, he was lucky having fallen from so high, even though it was water he landed in, because if you land in the water the wrong way from a big height, you can get hurt. But he hadn't been hurt, and he thought, no, I'm fine, I'm okay. And then they asked the question, where's the shark? He hadn't even thought about the shark while he was in the water. I reckon I would be thinking about it all the time. He hadn't thought about the shark. And so when the question was asked, well, where's the shark? They realised the shark wasn't following at the back of the boat from side to side. And they went to the other side of the boat from where he had fallen in, and they'd pulled him in. And guess who was just quietly swimming along beside the boat on the other side? The shark. Exactly. Now, they were all so grateful that the cabin boy was safe and that the shark hadn't got him. And at that stage of Joseph's life, he didn't really think much about, well, that was pretty good that God saved me, because he didn't really come from a strong Christian family. He had just a bit of a casual connection. But later in his life, and if you listen in the sermon, you'll probably pick up some of the parts of the story as to where this happened. Later in his life, it was this event and then some other events that I'm going to tell you about later in his life where he saw God miraculously interfered and intervened and did things to save him. And he reckoned, I really believe, even though it was years later, he came to this conclusion, God saved me from that shark by pushing it up on the other side of the boat for that little while. And of course, once he was safe, guess where the shark went to? Back to the boat, back of the boat, just floating from side to side. And so that was an incredible story. And that's what happened to Joseph when he was just 15. But he had many more adventures at sea, and I'm going to share a couple of them later on as well. So thank you, and don't forget, lots of things happen in our life where God does intervene and interfere and helps us, whether it's into a safe situation or helps us into another situation, which is his will. Okay? Go back to your seats. Thank you.